Okay, so finally we are doing the studio tour, the office tour, whatever you want to call this. I've been promising this for a year now. I moved into this space last March 2024. And since then, weekly, I've been telling you we're gonna do a studio tour. So let's finally just cut the bullshit and do a studio tour. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I used to work out of a small den in my house. There's a little like +1 bedroom style scenario going on upstairs, and that was my office. I did everything out of that thing and I loved it and it was great, but it was just starting to get a little too small. I had 3 kids, I have a dog, I have a wife. Working from home and being fortunate enough to have my family around me at all times is incredible, but it's distracting. I was getting a lot less done that way. So now that I'm actually in my own creative space, I'm crushing it. The days are easier. I'm getting a lot more done in a day. Content, photos, all that, you name it. It's working a lot better thanks to my space. So it was either January or February of 2024. I went on to Kijiji and I was hunting for something unique. Now I had this very particular creative vision of how I wanted my space to look, and I found it. I found that spot. So I went and viewed it. And within the same day of viewing it, I had the keys in my hand that night. If you know me, I'm spontaneous as f. That's just how it goes. 1 and a bit years later, promising you a studio tour and still not getting it. But without further ado, let's do the studio tour. Okay, so when I got this studio, I wanted to break the space into 4 different sets, functioning sets that I could shoot content out of, shoot photos for. So this is how I've broken it up. Set 1, the entryway. Set 2, the living room. Set 3, my desk setup. And then finally, still under construction, the vault, set 4. So first up, let's start talking about the furniture that I went with for my space. So you'll see these 3 different concrete style looking tables. Now these are from a company called Tabletop Treasures. I reached out to them and I needed something custom. I couldn't find a coffee table or a desk that worked for the vision that I had in my space. So I decided to go the customers. So I reached out to this company and I sent him over my designs and kind of what I was looking for. And this is what he built me. So this is actually just like a limestone wrap. Everybody seems to think it's a big block of concrete, and that's kind of the look I was going for. But being on the 2nd floor, I didn't know how the hell I was supposed to lug up a big concrete slab like that. Probably just wasn't gonna work. So I found this alternative. It's a limestone wrap, just built over top of wood, and it looks super heavy, but it's super light. Now I had him make me 2 coffee tables, one for the entryway here and one for the living room area. And then after that, my search started for a computer desk. I couldn't find a big enough desk that I wanted to fill the space that it was going. So obviously I reached out to him again. I had him custom build the computer desk. Again, sent him my designs, what I was hoping for, what I wanted to see, and this is what he put together for me. I wouldn't change a drop about this thing. This thing has been absolutely incredible. It's a centerpiece of my office. The second people walk in, the first thing they notice are the desks and the coffee tables. So I'd say that's a win. For the couch, I went with this suede couch off of Structube, and I wanted something that I could use as a texture backdrop in photos. So you might have seen this before on Instagram posts. A ton of my photos have actually come from this couch right here. One light, this crazy backdrop. We got photos that look like this. Now on the other side, my buddy Pete gifted me this amazing restoration hardware chair, and the leather again just provides another backdrop. I wanted everything in my studio to be inspirational and just be a spot that I can take photos, videos, whatever. So you're gonna notice that every little detail that I put into the studio can be used in some way or form as content or something to do with a photo. And I also wanted an end table, but I didn't want to go too big, so I thought this one was perfect, kind of matches the space, the marble top with the concrete, the wood beside the leather. It all just kind of worked. I've also got this little leather bench in the front. It's the least comfortable piece of furniture in my entire office. Nobody sits on it. It's no good, but it looks nice. So that's why it's still there. Now for the rugs, these are from Ruggable. They were kind enough to send them over to me to shoot some content on in a little product exchange collab. So I've got the cow print one up in the front, the nice entry statement piece there. I really love that one. And then I've got this one over here that sits under my permanent little working setup. Now I found that the space in front of my desk here looked kind of awkward without anything there. So I added in these 2 paperclip stools that I found from a vintage store out here in Ontario. By the way, I'll link all of this stuff in the description so you can check it out if you need to. Okay, so now furniture aside, let's talk decoration. I feel like decor is the most important part of any creative space. This is what kind of brings out the personality and reflects you in your space. So I've got a whole bunch of little knickknacks kind of placed around the office, from these skull brass catch-all trays to little Porsches, a little champagne bottle from my first Cartier purchase, and my day 1 camera. This is the Canon Rebel T5, and it was the first camera that I ever owned. A fun fact, my wife is also a photographer. She's an incredible lifestyle photographer. She shoots weddings and people and all this stuff that I can't shoot. But I actually bought her this camera when we first started dating 10 years ago. And then when she moved on to bigger and better, now by that I meant cameras. She moved on to bigger and better cameras. Back to the video. I picked up this little T5 and started shooting. I took my very first photo, which was like an Amazon Alexa pod. Loved the way that tech photo looks, so I posted it to Instagram. Fast forward 5 years, here we are. So that stays in this little glass case because I owe my life to that little camera. It got me where I am now. It got me this space. Everything is because of this. Now, as a photographer, it's only logical to also have prints from yourself and from other local artists. So I've got a few of my prints down here, one from a Pete's Pirate Life hot sauce shoot that I did, and then my favorite drone shot I've ever taken from the desert out in Nevada. Now, one thing I always wanted was a piece of art from this guy. This is my buddy Peter. He is next level talented. He shoots these crazy macro photos of stuff, and I just always really wanted one in my space. So once I was able to afford him, I bought one. And my family knows me as the Reese's peanut butter cup guy. Every single holiday, Christmas, Easter, all that stuff, I always have Reese's peanut butter cups waiting for me. Fire me up. It's like the #1 reason I love holidays. So I saw Peter post an Instagram story that he had just shot a macro photo of a Reese's peanut butter cup, and I knew that was my time. I hit those DMs harder than any DM I've ever hit in my life, and I bought it right away. Within a couple of weeks, he had it printed out, and he came into my studio and he set it up, and I think at this point, that is my favorite part of my entire office. It's just a massive peanut butter cup on my wall. It matches the panels in the background, which let's talk about, since I guess that's kind of decor. These are by Andor Willow, who was kind enough to gift me these panels and completely enhance the look of my studio. So now I've got these panels here, which kind of act as the main piece of my office. These are just walnut. And then I've got some in the entryway as well in a white color. Now those are the paintable panels, but I don't think I'm gonna change the color. I kind of like the way the white looks there. So now let's talk about this big logo up on the wall. That is my Current Spaces logo. I don't know what it is, but ever since I was a designer, my first year of design school, I always had this idea of owning my own agency one day. It's not that I wanted to be a boss and kind of oversee people. It's that I wanted to utilize my own creativity and kind of maximize that and use my own ideas to design and create and shoot and do all that stuff. Now, obviously working through an agency for so many years was great and it taught me a whole bunch of stuff. The design that I was doing ultimately came down to somebody else's idea. It was never really my own creative vision or whatever. So I always had this idea of my own agency with my own logo up on the wall. So literally the first day I took the keys to this office, I messaged my buddy who lives in Durham region and I said, we did it. I got the space. I need the logo. So this is just a big cutout wood logo that I put up on the wall. Day 1 or 2 of taking over the space. I'm also a big scent guy. My whole life, I've been obsessed with colognes. Fun fact, I own over 45 bottles of cologne. It's a problem. So that scent addiction obviously trickles into how my space smells. So I've got multiple different candles, but my #1 candle so far has been this one here by Diptyque. This one's called Feu de Bois. Maybe correct me in the comments. And then I've got another one by a company called the County Candle Company. Now the county is where I live. And she's a local maker. She owns this business. She makes candles and she names each of the candles based on the different pieces of the county. So I live in a small town called Carrying Place. So obviously I needed to get her Carrying Place candle and it smells unbelievable. So now those are kind of the 2 candles that I bounce between on a daily, but I've got all the different room sprays, incense, you name it. This place always smells good, at least to me. You might hate it, but I love it. My own creative space. I've also been playing the acoustic guitar for many, many years, so I keep that in my office as well. Little midday break, coffee, guitar, I'm all in. And now on the other side of this funky little closet here, I've got this. That's a 1967 Coca-Cola machine, and it works. It actually does work. Now, I am the least handy person on the face of Earth, so I'm still waiting on my father-in-law to come over and help me restore this thing and get it running properly. Right now, when I plug it in, it makes like the most obnoxious sound. You can't listen to that all day. And what I wanted to do with this thing originally when I first bought it was to fill it with bush lattes, if you will. But because the Coke cans in 1967 were much smaller, they weren't as tall as the standard Coke can is now, the actual tracks inside of the fridge are too small for a beer can. So now it just looks good. It's a shelf and a hat holder, but it works and it looks great in the back of my sets when I'm shooting there. I've got tons of comments asking about the old Coke machine, so there you have it. And that's about it for decor. So let's talk about the other side of my office here. I mentioned in the beginning of the video that there are still parts that are under construction, and that's what we're gonna talk about now. And that's also a big reason that I've been holding off on this video, because I wanted to create a studio tour video when it was completely done, so you could see the whole thing, and I could really speak to my vision and kind of why I did everything I did. But figure maybe we can just save that for an additional video. So starting with this little hallway here, this is where I keep all the stuff I shoot on a daily, for the most part. I work with a bunch of different brands, and they send me tons of stuff to shoot. I need a spot to keep that. So that's where all this lives right now. It's a bit of a mess, but it does the job. I've got these stands here to hold up all the stuff. Got a few bins to store things in. And although it's not glamorous, you don't see it when you walk into my space. So out of sight, out of mind. And now kind of the highlight and what drew me into taking over this space is this room here. Now, you might be wondering what's with the door. This is actually a vault. So this space way back when used to be a bank and it was converted into an office. Now, obviously because of legality reasons, they had to remove the lock from the vault, but they kept the original door from when this place was operating as a bank, which is pretty cool. So I plan to use this vault as kind of my gear storage. I want to get a big husky bench, kind of a husky wall unit and dial it all in so that that's where all of my gear lives. It's going to be the gear vault. I also have a super fun piece coming in from Canon that is probably going to be game changing. That's also gonna live in there, but we'll also save that for another video. So moving on from the vault, where do I spend majority of my day? Right here at my desk. So the setup I'm currently running now, I've got 2 Apple Studio display monitors. I was using one for the longest time, but I'm a designer as well. So when I've got emails up and Illustrator up and Photoshop up, and then I'm editing photos and bouncing to Lightroom, it's hard. So just recently I added in the second screen and I had the guy who built my custom desk put in these little holes so I could run the cords through and get those out of the way. I'm a cord freak. I don't want to see a single cord, which is why I actually had the front of the table be solid so you can't see the mess that's going on underneath. I built in these silly custom hangers here to hang my AirPods off. I bought a little under tray and a little catch-all tray to bolt into the side of my desk. It kind of keeps all those little tiny things I don't want scattered all over the place looking all messy. In one spot, I know where they are. So that's it. That's my space. It's worked well for me. I think I've been able to be the most creative I've ever been since taking over this space, and it's gonna change. Now that I'm back to posting videos on YouTube again, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on it. Once that vault's done, once the back area is done, I'm gonna shoot videos on those as well and kind of share the process there. So if you want to stay up to date on this kind of studio build, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I am planning on posting a lot more stuff for 2025. I've got a bunch of different ideas that we're working on. You hear that rain? Is that going to ruin the video?
Stop now, so it's good.
We're good now.
Yeah.
I'm panicking again. Anyways, thank you for watching. Until next time, happy shooting.